There's a lot of solid to good football teams in the Big Ten West as we approach the 2023 Big Ten football season. But when you factor in all three phases of the game, offense, defense, and special team, does it get any better than the Iowa Hawkeyes in the Big Ten West? Before I get into that and break it all down, just a reminder to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Big Ten content all offseason long. Always crush that like button to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses. We know Iowa has been really, real good in two phases the last couple of years. Special teams and defense. They've been elite in 2 out of the 3, but they've been pretty bad on offense. And I think that's where the pendulum and that's where the scales have kind of dipped, especially this last year. That's why they weren't able to keep up, I think, with the Joneses in the Big Ten West, and they weren't able to repeat as Big Ten West champions because their offense fell behind. Now, when you break these teams down, and you break down especially the Iowa Hawkeyes, which we're going to do a lot of in this video, there are a lot of teams out there that are good at offense. Like I look at Wisconsin, all the talent that they've brought in on offense, and their defense, they're bringing back a few guys, but overall, their offense is a lot better than their defense. I look at someone like Illinois, who's got a great defensive front, and they're losing some stuff on the back end, but overall, they're going to have a pretty good defense. I look at their offense. Can they adjust when they don't have a guy and a generational talent in the orange and blue like Chase Brown in the backfield? There are certain parts of certain teams in the Big Ten West that I think are good, but when you look at the total package, I'm not sure if there's a team that maybe is more balanced across the board in 2023 than the Iowa Hawkeyes. I know the offense is a concern, but I think they've done a good job to improve themselves here in 2023. I'm going to get to that. But when you talk about Iowa, you got to start with defense. You got to start with the unit that Phil Parker has turned into a juggernaut, not only in the Big Ten, but in the world of college football. Now, linebacker has been a big strength for the Iowa Hawkeyes the last few seasons. Jack Campbell and Seth Benson have carried this unit. Not having those two guys in Iowa City, not having those guys in black and gold is going to hurt. But that's where the defensive line and the secondary are going to step up, and they are going to be the units that are going to lead Phil Parker's defense. Let me explain. First, in the secondary, you've got 3 guys back there that are going to be really, really good. The ball Hawkeyes ain't going nowhere. You look at Cooper DeJean, the turnover machine. He kind of picked up where Riley Moss left off the previous year, forcing a ton of turnovers, and you saw just how big of an impact he was on this team when he went out in that Nebraska game, last game of the season. And look at Quinn Schulte, steady defensive back. You can depend on him most of the time to take care of his assignments. And Xavier and Wampka, like when you didn't, I think it was Kayvon Merriweather that opted out of the bowl game. Xavier stepped in and he had a big time game. He fits into everything that they preach in Iowa City, going after the football, being aggressive. He's that kind of guy in the defensive secondary. This is probably going to be the best secondary in the Big Ten Conference. It is going to be tough to move the football through the air on the ball Hawkeyes. Now, the defensive line. Okay, I mentioned how good they've been at linebacker, but this D-line is going to be deep. You look at guys like Logan Lee and Noah Shannon. Like Logan Lee, 3 sacks last year. He was 5th on the team in tackles with 53. You look at Noah Shannon, 3rd on the team in tackles for loss with 8.5 tackles for loss last year. Their bookends, defensive end Joe Evans and Deontay Craig. You look at those guys that combined for around 13.5 sacks last season. Those were the 2 sack leaders. The 2 sack leaders on this team last year. So what does this tell me on defense? It tells me it fits into right what Phil Parker wants to do. He wants to create havoc. He wants to force turnovers. You're going to have that pass rush. You're going to have the depth on the defensive line. And that's going to lead into the talent that you have in the secondary to take the football away and create opportunities for your offense where they didn't capitalize last year. They might be able to capitalize this year because they've made improvements on the offensive side of the ball. I think you got to start at quarterback. Cade McNamara, he's been there. He's done that. He's gone through the rigor of a tough Big Ten season where the eyeballs are on you late. This is the guy that takes care of the football. He utilizes the tight ends in the passing game. He leans on a good running game. He leans on a good defense. He was built to play quarterback at Iowa. That's how I feel about Cade McNamara. Okay, and you got a guy back there in the backfield in Kaleb Johnson that's poised to break out. Second half of the year, he established himself as the guy. And then I think the big concern for me coming into this year, when you look at balance, when Iowa was supposed to take a step up, they were expecting to retain Keegan Johnson and Arlen Bruce. It just didn't happen. It didn't happen. Okay, so they were pretty slim at wide receiver. Nico Ragaini is coming back. They bring in Eric All at tight end. Of course, you bring back Luke Lachey at tight end. And then they go out into the transfer portal, and they get a guy by the name of Seth Anderson. Charleston Southern. Transferred after 1 year. Now he's coming to play in the Big Ten. Second team All-Big South. Big South freshman of the year. 32 catches, 453, and 5 touchdowns. Had a really good year his freshman season. It would not surprise me to see Seth Anderson be the number one guy maybe midway through the season. Nico Ragaini is a good compliment. I'm not sure if he can stand out to be a number one guy in this offense. Deontay Vine's kind of the same deal. Seth Anderson is going to be that guy. Now, the success of the Iowa football team is going to depend on this offensive line. Okay, they've been spoiled with a lot of really good offensive line play in years past, but it was a young offensive line and an experienced offensive line at the University of Iowa. If they can road grade, if they can make lanes for Kaleb Johnson, he's going to take the heat off of Cade McNamara. If they can pass protect, it's going to make things easier for Cade McNamara. How the offensive line goes, the Iowa Hawkeyes will go in 2023. They were young. They were inexperienced last year. No question about it. But I think they're going to take some steps forward. Iowa, get a pass catcher, get some offensive line help in the transfer portal, and you're going to be fine. So, to answer the question, are they the most complete team in 2023? I believe they are, because they've made the improvements on offense. I know you still got bad luck Brian Ferentz as the offensive coordinator, and they've progressively taken steps down. But this might be, they might be able to overcome that this year. And then, of course, special teams. I didn't mention special teams. Torrey Taylor somehow finds his way back in Iowa City. Seems like he's been there forever. He can change games with a swing of the leg. I look at all those other teams. Look at the flag behind me. I think there's a lot of unproven things in the Big Ten West this season. But when I look at Iowa, just how good they're going to be on defense, just how good they always are on special teams, and the improvements they've made on offense, I honestly believe they are the most balanced team, maybe the most complete team in the Big Ten West headed into 2023. I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm full of it? Do you think I've been drinking too much black and gold Kool-Aid right as of late? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to Big Ten Ted if you haven't already. I'm Big Ten Ted. We will see you in the next one.